Welcome back to The Vault. I'm Mike Ricola. Let's talk about the classic indie film partnership. A writer and a director team up, they shake hands, they agree to split everything 50-50, and they start developing a movie together. Here's the trap. A 50-50 split without a tiebreaker is a death sentence. What happens when you are 2 weeks from production and you completely disagree on casting the lead actor? If you both have an equal vote, the decision freezes, the movie stalls, the investor walks away. You cannot operate a business in a deadlock. You need a joint venture agreement to split the kingdom and keep the movie moving. Before you download this template, we need to talk about the rules of engagement. I am a producer and I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. The template inside the vault are the exact legal armor used by professionals, but they are provided for educational purposes only. Downloading this document, watching this video, or reading my breakdowns do not create an attorney-client relationship between you and the NonDē Filmmaking Legal Lab. These templates are your starting point. They are drafting tools to give you leverage. They are not a substitute for specific legal advice. Second, jurisdictions matter. This armor is forged using general principles of U.S. contract law and standard industry practices, but the rules change when you cross state lines or international borders. What worked in California might be different in New York or London. You are strongly advised to have your final paperwork reviewed by local counsel in the state where you are shooting. Finally, use this at your own risk. You're the producer. You're the one stepping on set. The NonDē Legal Lab assumes no responsibilities for any errors, omissions, or legal consequences that happen because you have used or executed this document. You are building your own business. Take responsibility for your own assets. Read the full disclaimers below. And let's talk about some quick notes and usage about this document. So first, this is the pre-money vessel. You don't always need to spend $800 forming an LLC on day one. A joint venture acts as a temporary pre-money vessel. It legally binds the partners to develop the script and pitch investors. Once the money arrives, Section 1 forces the joint venture to pivot into a single-purpose entity, otherwise known as an LLC. The tiebreaker metrics, like we talked about. A 50-50 partnership without a tiebreaker is a death sentence. Section 3 splits the kingdom. In this particular agreement, the director wins creative disputes and the writer or the lead producer wins business disputes. This is a way to keep the movie moving forward. Finally, the rogue agent shield. Section 4 prevents a partner from going to a film festival, getting drunk, and selling the worldwide rights for your movie for only $5,000 without permission. It establishes a floor price and requires 2 signatures for any major decision. Now let's dive in. So this is the joint venture co-production agreement. We have our typical recitals, which is who the people are that are involved in this agreement. So we have the date, the writer and the producer, the director and the producer. Collectively, they are referred to as the venturers. And then what is this referring to? This is referring to the creation of a motion picture. Section 1 is our section that highlights the actual formation of our group. So 1.1, the venturer is deciding to form a joint venture under the laws of a specific state, and they are doing so by forming a fiduciary relationship between them. The purpose is to develop, produce, market, and exploit a motion picture. The SPE Pivot is basically where we say that once money is attached and we move into principal photography, then we will convert this joint venture into a single purpose entity, usually an LLC. We will establish an operating agreement that mirrors this agreement, and we will use that to then control. This is how you start lean. You build you build the joint venture to build the package, but you force the transition into an LLC before the liability starts. $800 is $800. Why spend $800 on registering an LLC if you don't have to, if you're waiting for fundraising? So again, this is the best way to do it. Section 2 basically highlights the various services and the mutual duties that each person will have. The writer will provide writing services, the director will provide directing services, and they will both jointly work as producers. Section 3 is the tiebreaker management matrix. So day-to-day operations are usually to the mutual consent of both venturers. There's a creative tiebreak, what happens? When there's a business tiebreak, what happens? And then right here, you'll notice a major decisions clause. This basically is what you want to put in if you want both parties to have say, so that the director can't do X or the writer can't do Y without the other individual. So here we generally put things like a sale with a floor amount, a sale or assignment, any contract with a term exceeding a certain number of years, or incurring any amount of debt over a certain amount. Floor amount is your safety net. If the floor is 100K, the director can negotiate a sign for a 150K distribution deal. But if the offer is 50K, they must get your writing and approval first if you're the writer. So that's kind of what I mean by major decisions. Sales and distribution authority. This establishes limited power of attorney to allow the director to go out and make sales on behalf of the joint venture. Consultation and execution. This is a section that provides the writer a chance to at least consult any business decisions over a number of days. Here, number 5, we do our typical clean title and work made for hire passages that are so crucial from work made for hire. Everyone in the joint venture is submitting their work, and it is work made for hire to be owned by the joint venture, then owned by the LLC once created. Assignment, if nothing is created for work for hire, we are still assigning those rights. And then the waiver of moral rights. Financials, this is really important. Take your time here. This is where you're going to spell out net profits. You might even want to actually define net profits a little bit stronger than just industry standard practices, because that can tend to be vague. So put in there exactly what you mean, and then put in where you want them to lie in the waterfall. Then this is your expenses. It establishes what expenses you might need to pay back. And then your default and dissolution. So this is a great section to have. Without this clause, if your partner ghosts you to take another job or they do something else, they still own 50% of the movie. So this is the eject button that allows you to cut their equity down if they abandon the project. Then we have our typical publicity, because you want to be able to use their name in the projects. Then various warranties. This protects you if one of the ventures steals an idea. And then tax indemnification. This is really important. This spells out who owes tax to what, so that the joint venture doesn't get taxed, and then you're on the hook for your other partner's taxes. No injunction relief. We've seen this in almost every contract that we do. This prevents the joint venturers from stopping the movie if they have a complaint, but they can still sue for monetary damages. And then our typical certificate of authorship, which establishes that the joint venture owns that. And then our entire agreement and choice of law and severability. So again, this is your typical joint venture co-production agreement. You'll want to fill in where more detail is required, and you want to provide it to grasp a more tighter picture. This is just a skeletal outline of that document. Use it before you even form the LLC. Use it when you're starting to talk with your collaborators about launching a new project. Use it to secure the chain of title. That is the most important aspect of this. So next step, download this template, review it, watch this walkthrough, fill out what you need to, use it at your own risk, consult local counsel, and go out there, get it signed, and get to work. Thanks for visiting the NonDē Filmmaking Legal Lab, where our goal is to help democratize access to educational resources in the legal and business sense for filmmakers, and we hope we've done that today. Have a great day.